I'd like to welcome State Representative Ranjeev Puri to the podium. Representative Puri is the chair of the Appropriations Committee, Subcommittee on Transportation in the Michigan House of Representatives. He's also serving as the House Majority Whip since 2023. Before joining the legislature, Representative Puri worked in financial consulting and then went on to work for President Barack Obama. Representative Puri received his undergrad degree in economics and finance and went on to receive his MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business in 2014. Representative Puri.
Hey everyone, thank you for that introduction, and thank you Henry and Mcity for having me. It's an honor to be here with all of you at this year's Congress. As Henry mentioned, my name is Ranjeev Puri. I am the state representative in Michigan's 24th House District. As Henry mentioned, I also serve as the House Majority Whip. A lot of people don't know what that means. If you don't, it's okay. You can go on Netflix and watch a show called House of Cards. And maybe get a little bit better of an understanding. I also do serve as the chair of the transportation budget in the Michigan House. That is a distinct honor that I have a lot of fun with and I take a lot of pride with. But what it really ends up meaning that I get to come to cool events, follow acts like Justine, who says these really cool things that Michigan's doing, and then I get to find a way to pay for them all. But I do enjoy all of that. And so, I think the folks at Mcity sometimes think I'm joking when I talk about how excited I am to come to rooms like this. Before joining the legislature, I worked in the automotive industry, in the mobility space, and so I miss a lot of these conversations. And so my colleagues, I tell my colleagues that I'm passionate. They think I'm obsessed, but it is nice to be in a room full of like minds, kind of solving the mobility issues for our state. I'm in my second term in the House, but it's my second year as chair of the transportation budget, and I'm really excited about where things are heading. Some may not know how the process of the Michigan budget comes together. It is a lengthy process that takes kind of the first half of the year to figure out. Where we're at right now is there's essentially three versions of the budget that are passed. There is the executive version that the governor's team puts out. There is a version from the Michigan Senate, and then there's a version from the Michigan House. And so right now we've all finalized our three versions, and then in a couple weeks we're gonna get locked into a room about this size and just battle it out, and we'll come out on kind of I'm just joking, there will be no fighting. It'll be a lengthy negotiation of a few meetings, a couple months, and we will kind of finalize next year's fiscal year budget. And so I am proud to announce that last year I passed out what I truly believe is the most mobility-rich budget that this state has ever seen. I'm a firm believer that the transportation needs of our state are evolving. We are seeing behavior shifts in the way that Michiganders want to get from point A to point B. And the reality is at least when I was growing up, the high school halls were filled of people counting down to the day they're turning 16 and to get their license. And that is just not the reality anymore. And so, regardless of kind of your feelings on that, the fact is that it is evolving and it is changing. We're seeing younger generations that are yearning for policymakers to really start considering the way that we envision the design of municipalities and the way that we design regional transport. There's a sense of wanting things to be more walkable, more bikeable, more accessible, and there is a real need for public transit. And all of this to say that it is time for Michigan to look beyond transportation through the lens of a passenger vehicle and truly get serious about leading the way for transportation and the needs of tomorrow. Now, Justine laid out a lot of work that's happening across Michigan very nicely, and we can continue to do a lot here in Michigan. Between last year's budget And what I have proposed for this year, there's a whole host of proposals that we are really taking on and funding a wide array of mobility and new technology initiatives for the state of Michigan. Aerial mobility, as was discussed, inductive charging, mobility funding platforms, an e-bike purchase program, a Safe Streets grants program, public transit, a passenger ferry electrification conversion, EV infrastructure, obviously across our state, public school bus, EV programs, and a lot more. And some of you may have heard in the news recently, and I didn't realize how controversial this was going to get, but we are also going to start studying a road use charge and a vehicles miles traveled program in Michigan. And so, regardless of kind of what the headlines say, nothing's happening tomorrow. There won't be a T-word attack starting on anything anytime soon, but we are just starting to get comfortable with and understanding kind of what the options are on the table, because the reality is that we do have a pretty significant annual deficit in terms of funding the transportation needs for our state, especially when it comes to the maintenance and construction of our roads. It's estimated to be roughly $4 billion annually on top of what we are already spending. And so the unfortunate reality that we're coming to terms with is that there is not one solution out there that's going to kind of bridge that $4 billion deficit. And so we are starting to understand by talking to leaders across our state, across our country, to see what is possible and what the options would be to do that. And part of that is understanding that the needs of our state, transportation needs of our state are changing. In that same budget, I've also started looking at road dieting. We have an infrastructure that was put into place many, many years ago. And with population changes, with the transportation changes, I think it's time to start assessing if the infrastructure that we need is the infrastructure that we have is the infrastructure that we need going forward. And so we're going to start with downtown corridors to start looking at traffic trends to see if there are ways to maybe shift a lane or two into a complete street program to make them more accessible for different mobility options. And so this is the perspective that I hope to continue to bring to the work here in Lansing and for the state of Michigan, to continue to have us kind of forward thinking. And this is all on top of the conversation and the reality of what is happening with our state's economy, what's happening with the automotive industry. There is obviously a very shift with these changes in consumer behavior for the role of an OEM and what the industry of tomorrow is going to look like. And I'm fearful that Michigan, without kind of the right intentionality, is going to be complacent in thinking that the industry of tomorrow will automatically fall into our laps if we don't fight for it, because the reality is that we are under attack. And I didn't mean for this to get so dramatic, but the reality is that there is serious competition from neighboring states, from neighboring countries, and from countries all over the world that really do want to kind of capture the industry of tomorrow and take that away from us. And so, I know that we joke we don't joke, we take very serious about being the home of the automotive industry. And so if we truly mean that and we want that, we will have to fight for that. And so, the state is very serious in its plan to hopefully have advanced manufacturing be located here in Michigan. We all know the anchor that battery plants can mean for a supply chain, for the industry. And so we are actively pursuing and competing with states, again, all across the country, and competition from all over the world to make sure that Michigan is ahead of the curve. The unfortunate reality is that this wouldn't be politics if there weren't naysayers. I have plenty of opposition from the other side about some of these radical ideas like EVs. But I say this because it would be debilitating to our state to not think outside the box. Ideas like electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles and mobility are not just a Michigan phenomenon. And I truly understand that that these are global conversations, and regardless of where the ball lands in Michigan, that the industry will move forward. And so I'm thankful that we have leaders such as Justine, Henry, and everyone in this room from the industry that are coming together and really trying to help solve these critical issues to make sure that Michigan is put on a path to make sure that we are ahead of the curve, that we are going to continue to lead in this industry. You know, and that work cannot be done without companies just like everyone in this room putting our hands together to make sure that innovation continues to happen in Michigan for the foreseeable future. I am proud of the work that we are building in Michigan, and I really hope that as Michigan is home of the Motor City, that it'll also be home of the e-Motor City, the Mobility City, or whatever it will be called in the future. But we will be fighting every day to make sure that we are continuing to be on the forefront of those conversations, that we are laying an environment and fostering a platform for companies, for our legacy companies, for new startups, and for the companies from out of state to know that Michigan is open for business, that we are the home of mobility, we are the home of automotive. And again, that cannot happen without the partnership of everyone in this room. And so thanks again for having me. I look forward to some of the discussion today, and I hope to be a key piece in working alongside all of you and making sure that we're solving the issues of tomorrow. Thank you.